All rise. Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. Silence is commanded by this honorable commission. All those having business, draw near. You may be seated. How are you? How are you, sir?
Good morning to everyone, and let me take this opportunity now to ask you to do a favor. Please look at your cell phones or electric devices that make noise. We don't want them to go to our bed and breakfast because it's going to take you a time to get it from there. All right? It just not show up and get it. You have to go through a whole lot of changes, and so to prevent that, please, ma'am, please, sir, everybody, including the commissioners, check your electric devices. All right? I don't think you're gonna get no divine signal today during these proceedings, so therefore we don't need you interrupting them because it is said that silence is commanded, all right? And we appreciate that. We're going to begin with our inspiration and our invocation, and today we have with us, and I'm gonna tell you, because I know what I know, and because I know what I know what to do. All right. They have listed on here for me to call you minister, but you are pastor elect. All right. So I'm gonna straighten that out before. But today we have pastor elect uh, Anthony Gerald, who has come to us from the True Love Missionary Baptist Church, for which he's been called to be pastor. If he looks familiar, it's because his sister is Miss Gail, all right? My right hand, okay? And he was licensed to preach in 2021, and in February 2022, he was called to a standard person serving the deacons and members of the True Love Missionary Baptist Church, and they eventually called him as pastor. He served online Bible study during COVID in 2020 called the Prayer Warriors, and he delivered messages on the radio from April of 23 to December of 24, entitled Messages of Hope. Uh, Pastor-elect Gerald is associate pastor of the First Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, and I had the privilege last night of being the guest speaker, all right, at their 110th church anniversary, and he was there with us. And so I'm going to ask Pastor-elect Gerald if he will come to the podium, and he will give us his inspiration. And when you get ready to have prayer, will you please signal us so that at that time I'm going to ask everybody to restand, and then after the prayer, the vice chair will then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen.
Pastor Gerald, Pastor-elect Gerald, the floor is yours.
Amen. Good morning.
Good morning.
I would say it's a pleasure for me to be before you this morning. And I thank you all for having me to come here to give you a word this morning of encouragement. Amen. I won't be before you very long, but I do have a word that I believe that will help in the process. Amen. And it comes from Psalms 27, verse 14. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage. He shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. These days, it's difficult for people to wait for anything. And so, as you may have known, a lot of times when you get together and things that's pressing you on the outside, the term microwave generation applies to many people today who expect instant information on their smartphones, and instant gratification is almost every aspect of their lives. We have become so impatient. We find ourselves standing in the front of the microwave, tapping our feet, yelling, come on. A lot of times when you are facing decisions to make, you find that with people yourselves. Amen? So we may have taken impatience to a new level, but being patient was tough, even in the biblical times. In many of those Psalms, David cried out to God with complaints that God was not coming through for him and seeing distance or even silence. And I know sometimes that can be very taxing, especially on the decisions that you all have to make. Answer me when I call, O Lord, my righteousness. Why, O Lord, do you stand far away? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? In Psalms 27, David made a similar plea to God. Hear me, O Lord, when I cry aloud. Be gracious to me and answer me. Hide not your face from me. Turn not your servant away in anger. O you have been my help. Cast me not off. Forsake me not, O God of our salvation. David's pattern is in most of the complaints Psalms was followed. The complaints were reminded of how God always come through for him, amen, as he come through for you in decision making that you make. Psalm 27 also say David simply made one confident statement. I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. He didn't finish the Psalms with today's verse, where we exhort ourselves to wait with courage. When God seems distant, we need to follow David's pattern, cry out to God, remind ourselves of God's help in the past, and exhort ourselves to be strong in God. The results will be reassurance and confidence that's able us to be patient, even when it doesn't want to be. Amen? And sometimes in meetings, we have to be a whole lot patient than what we are. And Psalm 27 reads, as I come over to my close, hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy upon me and answer me. When you say, seek my face, my heart says to you, your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have help, that have been my help. Do not leave me, nor forsake me, O Lord, of my salvation. I would have lost heart unless I had believed that I would see the righteousness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on me, Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. And as the council come together to work on the task before you, knowing that tribulations bring about preservation, and preservation proven character. The proven character, hope, and hope does not disappoint because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has given it to us. Amen. Raz?
May we stand?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today as humble as we know how, Father God. We come today, Lord, standing together as a people in a county, Lord, and as a council, Father, Lord, making decisions, Father, Lord, that for the well-being of the people of this county, Father God. We ask, God, that you bless every district, Lord, that is represented here today, Father God. Lord, and we trust that you bless the man or woman that's sitting in this place right now to represent, Father God, that you give them the strength, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding, Father God, of what's needed in this city, Father God. Thank you for the chairman, God. Continue to give him strength, Father, Lord, as he sit in the middle of the gap, Father, Lord, to give out the orders, and Lord, and give the directions that we shall go as a county, God. So all these blessings, Lord Heavenly Father, I ask of you in the name of Jesus today. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Harsh. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Minister Gerald, there I go again. I'm going to start reading and start going by what I know. Pastor-elect Gerald, we cannot pay you, but we do give you our certificate of appreciation. We thank you for being here with us and for bringing us your words today. For patience is needed.
Amen.
In times like these. Thank you and God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
All righty. Roll call.
Chester A. Ellis, Chairman.
Present.
Melinda Scott Hodge, District 2, Vice Chairman.
Present.
Dean Kicklighter, District 7, Chairman Pro Tem. Anthony Wayne Noah, District 1.
Here.
Bobby Lockett, District 3.
Present.
Patrick K. Farrell, District 4.
Here.
Tanya Milton, District 5.
Present.
Aaron Whiteley, District 6.
Here.
Marcia Buford, District 8.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to call on Commissioner Whiteley as we go to our proclamation and special presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Should we ask our guests to join us?
Yes.
I'm going to ask our guests from Visit Savannah, if you would, please join us at the podium.
And if you want to bring everybody with you, come on.
You don't be shy.
Morning, Chairman.
So Visit Savannah is celebrating 50 years of service to our community. And so we have a proclamation that I will read on behalf of the chairman. All right. Whereas, founded in 1976, the Savannah Convention and Visitors Bureau, currently known as Visit Savannah, was established to market Savannah as a destination and grow the local visitor economy. And whereas, in 1980, local leaders made a pivotal decision to reinvest hotel-motel tax revenue into tourism marketing, creating a sustainable funding model that continues to generate strong economic returns for Savannah and Chatham County. And whereas the organization was formally rebranded as Visit Savannah in 2010, reflecting a modern destination marketing approach and the rising of Savannah's national and international profile. And whereas Visit Savannah, the official destination marketing organization for the greater Savannah area, works to support a year-round tourism economy by providing resources, platforms, and opportunities for local hospitality businesses to market their services and products to a variety of travel audience. Now, therefore, I, Aaron Whiteley, on behalf of Chester A. Ellis, Chairman, on behalf of the Chatham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim Friday, February 27th as Visit Savannah Day in Chatham County in recognition of its 50th anniversary, and applaud it being known as one of the region's most powerful economic drivers. There we go. Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Ellis and
Morning.
Commissioners. On behalf of the 54 full and part-time employees at Visit Savannah and our Board of Directors, I would like to express our sincere appreciation for this recognition. 50 years ago, this organization was founded on a simple yet powerful belief in Savannah and Chatham County. That belief has not only endured, but also strengthened over the decades. I am deeply proud of the work of our team, past and present, and all they've accomplished to position Savannah and Chatham County as a premier destination that honors its rich history while thoughtfully embracing the future. Over the past 5 decades, our organization, originally established as the Savannah Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, and now known as Visit Savannah, has served not only our entire tourism marketing entity, but as a dedicated steward of this entire community. It is especially meaningful to celebrate this milestone alongside leaders like you who understand the work that we do directly supporting our residents, strengthening our businesses, both large and small, and contributing to the overall quality of life in our city and in our county. While today marks 50 years of progress and achievement, it also compels us to look ahead. We remain focused on just one question: what are we doing today to ensure an even stronger tomorrow? With the continued partnership of our Chatham County Commission partners, our community stakeholders, and our terrific and exceptional team, I am confident that the next chapter of Visit Savannah will be as impactful and forward-looking as the first chapter. Thank you again for this honor and for your ongoing and continuing support.
Thank you, and God bless you. All right? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Marinelli and Visit Savannah team, I want to just thank y'all. I have the distinct honor of working with the Visit Savannah group as a member of the Savannah Area Sports Council. And I got to tell you that the work that you guys do is, nothing short of amazing. I see these folks put in a lot of work to highlight our community, but also to create opportunities for those in our community, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I know that the best is yet to come, so I appreciate your work in that space, and also your work in partnership with the Greater Savannah Black Chamber as a partner and a mentor to some degree in the DMO space as a board member. I appreciate that. So thank you all for that. Congratulations and cheers to more than 50 more years.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Farrell?
Thank you. I would also like to make a little shout out to Visit Savannah and especially Joe Marinelli. There are 159 counties in Georgia. There's 3,069 counties in the United States of America. For the first time ever, the National Association of Counties will hold their annual conference next summer here in Chatham County. That's been a very long and winding path for the last 20 years to take that spark of an idea and bring it to fruition. And there was a lot of players in it, but to seal the deal and pull everything together and the timing, I'd like to lay that right on Mr. Joe Marinelli's lap. He was phenomenal in putting that together, and that means a lot to county commissioners up here, I would think. It means a lot to me, and I just wanted to give you a shout out that that's just one accolade out of many, 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 many things that Visit Savannah has done. But under Joe's leadership, and lots of other pieces and parts that came together and the timing, but without somebody to pull it all together and hold it together and get that across the finish line, I'm not sure where we would be. But my thanks to Visit Savannah and especially Joe for that accomplishment.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other commissioner? Any other? All right, thank you so much. And as Commissioner Farrell represent, the commission just returned, some of us just last night from Washington, D.C., where we met with NACO. And all I can say is to our manager and our staff, all right, NACO is coming, and they're coming at the tune of about 15,000, all right, who will be here, county commissioners from all over the country and from every state. So we're getting prepared for that, and we're going to be ready, and we're going to put our best foot forward. So thank you for the part you play in what we're doing, all right?
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Let me take this time now to recognize, before I move on with our proclamations, let me recognize our constitutional officers here. I see the tax commissioners here, all right? I saw Judge Cole, he was in the, did he leave? He left? Okay, all right, I want to recognize him. I don't see another, is there another one? Don't y'all let me miss anybody. Yeah, I just did the tax commissioner, all right? All right, let me call the, oh, okay. Let me call the folks up for the proclamation as theater in our school month in Chatham County, if you come to the podium. And if you want to, Jonathan, if you want to bring anybody else with you, just tell them, come on. Yeah. Come on, don't shake your head, come on. Come on. Don't leave him up here by himself. Come on. There you go. That's right. That's it. All right, standing before you now, I'm going to read part of this, and then I'll open up the floor that you may make any comments you want to. Let me ask Mr. Manager, where the folks with the camera? Because they didn't take a picture of Visit Savannah, did they? We got it. Okay, make sure that happens. The County of Chatham, Georgia, proclamation. Whereas the importance and the value of theater education in the lives of students all across the state of Georgia cannot be overstated. Preparing students for career both inside and outside of the art, arts and recognizing that the arts are essential and help to bolster the economy and vital connection between communities. Whereas theater programs all across the state provide students with personal and professional opportunity for self-expression, creativity, and career exploration, all while enhancing students' self-confidence and ability to engage and to empathize with their surrounding communities. Whereas we also recognize and support the importance of work of organizations like Georgia, all right, the Art Bridge Foundation that helps to support students by providing vital educational, financial, and performance opportunities to students of all backgrounds. Now, therefore, I, Chester Ellis, Chairman, on behalf of the Chatham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim March 2026 as Theater in Our School Month in Chatham County in celebration of the invaluable work of theater educators, students, and community members who passion serve as a safeguard to the arts form. In witness whereof, I hereto set my hands and cause the seal of Chatham County, Georgia to be affixed this 27th day of February 2026. The mic is yours.
I just want to say thank you.
Okay.
I mean, as it said in the proclamation, the importance of theater education cannot be overstated. I'm standing before you today as like kind of living proof of how far theater can take you. I'm speaking to the Board of Commissioners for Chatham County, which I never thought I would be able to do without the support of the theater community. And on behalf of the organization of Georgia Thespians, we just want to thank you for furthering our mission of carrying the arts and education into places where we never thought it would go. It really can't be overstated, and I just want to thank you for doing that. This is just one of the many ways that we can emphasize and really show how important theater is, and it starts within our schools, and it starts within the education system, and those are the people that are going on to lead lives in the government, and those are the people who are leading lives in Hollywood, and no matter what their careers are, it all begins within the school system, and this is just one of the many, many ways that we can make that happen.
Well, let me thank you for your passion and for the job that you do. And I can tell you, my theater was short-lived, all right? In 8th grade, I played in the play Huck Finn. And so evidently, after that, after they saw us perform in Huck Finn, they called none of us to be in. But I do understand the importance of getting the arts into our school system, and we thank you for pushing for this and for getting us there. Any comments from any other commissioner?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yes, congratulations, and we expect you to see you very soon on NBC or ABC. We go to see you.
Or CBS. Or podcast somewhere. Now, if you will turn and face that clock, hold your proclamation out.
Open.
No, don't slide to the side. I want you in the middle. Come on. Now, how you in the theater and you shy?
I'm
There
just
you
a
go.
mother. I'm not in theater.
Say it again.
I'm his mom.
So,
I'm not in theater. No, he's the theater, not me.
that's all right, but he wouldn't be there if you wasn't pushing. See, you one of them folks that hang out in the background. Oh, okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Where are you going?
All right.
Oh, to get your phone.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. At this time, let me call on the manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Commission. At this time, I'm going to ask our Human Resources Director to come to the podium as we recognize county employees for their various years of service to this community.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The employees that we're recognizing this morning have a combined total of service of 125. And so as a small token of our appreciation, we'd like to present you with this service award to thank you for your service and to congratulate you on this milestone. With 20 years of service, Miss Georgia Kennedy, With 15 years of service, Miss Chanel Kent. With 15 years of service, Mr. William Norse Jr. "15 years of service, Miss Latoya Bird Williams. With 10 years of service and retiring today, Miss Barbara Alday.
Come on. Fall down on the job.
Wait a minute, get it now, there you go.
One more.
Thank you. 10 years of service, Miss Vicky Center. Congratulations. 10 years of service, Miss Jessica Weston. "10 years of service, Miss Amy Clay. "5 years of service, our tax commissioner, Miss Sonia Jackson.
I'm gonna have to do better than that. Give me that problem. Come on, y'all, let me get them in here. Come on, y'all get a picture of me too. Come on. Thank you.
3, 2.
Thank you. Oh, one more. Lord, come on, let's do another one. We like photos.
5 years of service, Mr. Jarquise Trask. 5 years of service, Warren Drayton. Last but not least, 5 years of service, Mr. Timothy Stang.
To all our employees that make this county run in an efficient and effective way, thank you for what you bring on behalf of all the commissioners here sitting with me. We have no chairman's items, no commissioner items. We have no table items. We have items for individual action that we're going to. And if you all will give me a few seconds, a few minutes to let all those who want to leave go. All right. Items for individual action, voting on the following board appointments. Appoint Aaron Whiteley to the Chatham Area Transit Authority subject to the outcome of pending litigation. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Properly motion and second that Commissioner Whiteley be appointed to the Chatham Area Transit. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, please cast. Cast your votes. All right. Appoint Marcia Buford to the Chatham Area Transit Authority, subject to the outcome of pending litigation. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right. Appoint John Taylor to the Chatham Area Transit Authority, subject to the outcome of pending litigation. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right, properly motion and second. Please cast your votes. Okay. Appoint Jennifer Collins to the Coastal Area District Development Authority. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly motion and second. And the question, please cast your votes. All right. Now help me with pronounce the last name. Appoint Lauren Milano. Okay. To the Live Oak Board, Public Library Board. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, properly motion is second. Please cast your votes. Appoint Don Waters to the Chatham County Hospital Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion is second. Questions? Please cast your votes. Okay. To request board approval of the following budget amendments and transfer: one, in the capital grant fund, increase revenue and expenditures, $856,128 for supplemental funding for the Green Island Road Path Grant. Two, in the Capital Improvement Program Fund, transfer $100,000 from the Police Headquarters Renovation Project to establish a Ross Road renovation project. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Properly motion is second. Questions? Cast your votes. All right. At this time, we'll call on Director Sirhead to give us our quarterly report from the CNT.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right, I'm just going to be brief here. So we're still short manpower, but we're working with the departments to see if we can't get some more additional manpower. I mean, everybody's down, so it's not that anybody's unwilling to give us manpower. They have responsibilities that they need to take care of, so I thoroughly understand that. We're still functional and fully operational, though. All right, we did a direct hire and hired an Intel supervisor, which was key to have some stability in that unit. We've built out that intelligence unit, so not only does that unit assist in C&T cases, but they're assisting countywide with all the departments, which is something we've been working very hard to give back to each one of the departments. So this is a pivotal role. I'm excited about this, and I think we're really going to get rolling with this. All right, so just the 25 update on our opioid response. We've got the adult drug awareness trailer. We put about 750 people through that last year. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it takes a lot of time to put, to do a tour. That was a total of 14 events. We rolled that out 14 times. And then if anybody, you guys come across an event that you think you'd like that at, please let us know. The settlement funds, we're getting ready I got to meet with Tara to update those on our website so it's fully transparent where those funds are going. We did meet the goal of getting 2 dual diagnosed doctors with those funds practicing here locally in the county. So that was a pretty big accomplishment. And then we're the program with the licensed practicing counselors for the schools, that education is ongoing. So, we can do X amount at one time. And then they graduate at different times, and so we're rolling a new one in. So I think hopefully by the time we get done with that, we're going to have 16 of those for the schools. And it's pretty inexpensive to be able to do that because they're taking existing counselors, so we're not having to pay for payroll. So we're taking existing counselors, putting the program together. They're administering the program within their own counselors who are licensed to be able to do that training. So pretty neat. And then we have the Positive Peer Influencer Program, the PPIs. That continues to grow. So, just 4 years ago, we started with only 4 high schools. We're now, we picked up another 3 last year, so we're in 10 of the high schools, which is pretty impressive. So last year we trained 334 high schoolers about fentanyl directly and how to present that presentation to the middle schoolers. So last year we completed the presentations with the 7th and the 8th graders. For the new schools, we still have a couple more of the existing schools that have been with the program to get those finalized. So those 334 walked into 11 middle schools and trained 3,252 7th and 8th graders about the dangers of fentanyl and drugs and everything. So I'm mystified by the program. I really am. All right, so the OD update from last year, good news, we were down to 35. I'm not saying that is the actual number that occurred in the county, but that was the amount of cases that my office, they actually investigated. So we were contacted 57 times, obviously by the municipalities. That protocol is working very well. Detective shows up on the scene and they think it's an OD, they're calling us right away. So the quicker we get, and I've got a couple of cases that I'm going to highlight to show how important it is for us to get to that scene very, very quickly. So as you can see, the numbers going down. So that was exciting. I was very pleased to hear that. But then you look at the 2026 numbers, and we're at 10 already. All right, so that's 10 in 2 months times 6. We're back up there. I don't think we're going to get to that. There's the ebbs and flows. Okay, so I still think we're flat, and I don't know if we're going to be a trajectory now, but hopefully we're just flat. And and I always preface this, that number could be double, because once they're transported, if they pass away at the hospital or other circumstances, we don't know about it. So, but at least we now have a number that we are tracking with the same way every year. So at least we can go, hey, these are our numbers, and I would say across the board that the numbers are going down. So the OD unit that we put together, this is a really neat case. SPD contact us, from the scene. There was a death at a hotel, so they get on the scene. It appears to be an overdose. They call us right away. So we get on the scene. As soon as we get on the scene, we're able to develop a witness, take the evidence. That day, we then call in additional people in, and this happened on a weekend, and we were able to develop that evidence and push it into a proactive investigation right then and there. So then we went proactive with that, which allowed us to very quickly identify the individual that gave that fatal dose to that person, develop an ongoing case with them, and within 48 hours we had him in custody, and we're just waiting for the tox report to come back. And if it comes back the way we very much think it's going to, then we'll put it all together and go to a grand jury, and I anticipate felony murder charges. So, but that's the departments they're contacting us. We're working really good with them, and I've got a couple more things I'll highlight along the way just to show you how important that is. But from the time we contacted to 48 hours later, that individual that sold that fatal dose is in custody, and the odds of us charging that person with felony murder are very high. But that's all because the police department called us, and then we got on the scene and do what we do. All right, just one final plug with the overdose, or with the opioid response. If you guys come across any of your constituents that have, suffered a loss in their family and they're struggling, let me know. We can get them into this group. It's very impactful. I don't miss, it's once a month. I don't miss many of those meetings. It's I think it's the first Wednesday now of every month. And so I try and make all those, I try and make every one of those meetings. Okay, the major case unit. We just finished up Operation Vaquero. This is a very unique case. We started this back in 2023. So this is how long some of these things percolate. So the TAC units went out based on some information, initiated an investigation, and kept working that investigation along, and was able to develop enough information and evidence and an organization that we then switched from the TAC unit and we handed it over to major case. Okay? So major case then takes over, and we're pretty much at this stage utilizing every investigative tool that we have in our toolbox, which is pretty much all of them. And so before we come to the culmination, that case, we were able to seize 2.5 kilograms of fentanyl and 2 keys of coke. So before we even go to a takedown thing, we're a major impact there. So then just February 9th, and we used 6, 7, 8 departments to pull the rabbit out of the hat on this one. We eventually execute 2 search warrants, and that's key because we basically set up surveillance. waited for our targets. Everybody was a part of that. We were able to do a couple of vehicle stops, which triggered the search warrants. And so everybody's on standby. So you're talking about a lot of people all in place waiting to go. And then when we get the word and everything's right where we want it, we hit the door. So we execute 2 search warrants, one in Savannah, one in Port Wentworth. And the culmination of that, we basically seized over a half a kilo of fentanyl and some other things. But the big takeaway here is we took 3 kilograms of fentanyl off the street in that investigation. All of that dope was staying here. It was not going somewhere else. We know that. So the TAC teams, they stay extremely busy. This is another overdose death case. So in December of 24, we're contacted, and it was a double overdose. So we had two victims there. The overdose death unit starts working that case actively. We then identify somebody, but because of the evidence at the time, we weren't really thinking we had a shot at charging the death. So we then hand that off to the TAC unit, and they work it like a traditional drug dealer. So once we get these people ID'd, whether we can do the felony murder charge, that doesn't mean we can't actively work simultaneously a parallel traditional drug investigation. They do that, and then we get to the stage where we've now bumped this 2 or 3 rungs past the person that supplied the fatal overdose. So we execute a search warrant on that case to wrap things up and tie some things in. And that one search warrant, we got a 1.5 kilos of cocaine, 3 keys of fentanyl, 1/4 key of meth, 24 grams of marijuana, yada, yada, yada. And between the intel unit and the asset unit, we were able to seize $200,000 between the cash in the house and cash in some bank accounts. So for us to be able to do that, all working with the OD unit, working with the tactical unit, the intel unit, and the asset unit that we've developed, that's the culmination of a lot of stuff right there. And all that dope staying here in Chatham County. That's kind of what that looks like. So, along with working just the normal stuff, I wanted to highlight, we took a Crime Stopper tip, developed that up. Those Crime Stopper tips are, you go, hey, the guy standing on the corner of Walk and No Walk is selling dope, and they expect you to go out and do what you do, okay? The information that we get on these are valuable, but you got to really develop it. It just doesn't happen overnight. So the TAC unit did a phenomenal job developing that. We ended up executing 2 search warrants on that, one in Savannah, one in Pooler, and we end up with 100 pounds of weed, 3 handguns, and a couple people in custody. So we are at, Crime Stopper tips are important to us, is the point there. And then the only other thing is, I know we've got some of you that maybe haven't been out to see the complex. It's impressive, and I offer that up to any one of you guys that would like to come out and let me give you a brief and a tour, just so you guys can see what our capabilities truly are.
All right.
Any questions?
Questions, comments? Commissioner Milton?
Well, it sounds like y'all been working, working really hard. I appreciate your efforts, all of that, because like you said, all that dope would stay right here.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think the key takeaway with this is between all the departments that are working with it. I mean, it makes life easy. For sure.
That shows that you know how to develop an organization.
I have good people. It's not me, it's the people below me.
Appreciate your work.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Let me say thank you, Director. And what I'm most proudest of is that what you have developed with the school system. All
Yes, sir.
You got them totally now on board. There was some skepticism at first, but we have crossed that hurdle, and especially seeing that you are now reaching the kids as lower down as 8th grade, and we hope to move that on into the 6th, 5th, and
Yeah.
in the elementary school, because we do know that sometimes, because of children being in these households, they get exposed to the stuff at an early age.
The PPIs,
Yeah.
sir, those kids are phenomenal. I mean, we go out, we do and they're all fired up, and they get done, and they turn right back around to you and go, okay, what are we doing now? And it's like, we don't have the bandwidth to.
Well, to see
You know,
them
there's
in
only-
action and to see
Yeah.
them in the schools and,
Yep.
and getting involved, I tell you, I'm just grateful for you coming up with the idea and then promoting the product that we're getting major returns on it. And I thank you for you and your team for doing the work that you do.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Thank you so much. All right, we go to our action calendar. May I have a motion to accept the action calendar in its entirety?
Motion.
Second.
Properly motion and second that we accept the action calendar in its entirety. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right. We don't have a first reader. We go to our second reader, and let me read it into the records, and then I'll give instructions. The petitioner, Police Recreation Association of Savannah, Inc., is proposing to rezone map, amend to allow continuation of the existing residential duplex and club/lodge use while implementing stricter use regulations intended to minimize disturbance to the surrounding areas during events located at 604 Wilmington Island Road, MPC file number Z-1025-000-593, PIN 1019010009. The MPC recommends approval with conditions. District 4. The staff asks that this be postponed until today. Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'd ask that you open a public hearing to consider this rezoning. We have a pad here at the podium. Anyone who wishes to speak, I'd ask that they come and sign in.
All right, let me have a motion from a commissioner to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open a public hearing in consideration of the zoning amendment, proposed zoning amendment on the agenda.
Properly motion and second that we open up a public hearing. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right. Now, let me ask the audience, is there anyone who want to speak for or against? All right. What I need you to do is come up here to the manager, all right, and signed up. The petitioner, Mr. McCarthy, oh, there he is. All right, Mr. McCarthy, you're going to speak, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So we know
eight,
that.
We have 8 signed up so far.
You got 8. Anyone else now? Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. Mr. Manager, so we're going to proceed. Let's hear from MPC first. Okay.
We're not hearing from MPC today.
Okay, we're not going to hear from them?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we're going directly to
The petitioner.
the petitioner? All right.
Some of the parties are represented by attorney, and he has requested to go second after Mr. McCorkle and then take public comments.
Okay. So we're going first to Mr. McCorkle?
Yep.
All right.
Have to have MPC give their presentation first?
He said they're not, MPC's not.
The MPC is recommending approval.
Have to give their presentation?
Do they need to go first?
Yeah, we'll let them go ahead.
That's what I thought. Okay, come on, MPC. I thought we needed to have them go first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, remember, I'm usually kind of quiet up here, so I'll try and speak up. My name is Edward Morrow. I am representing the MPC today. Speak to you briefly about this.
Speak up.
I'm sorry.
Put the microphone down to you.
Down?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Is that better?
That's better.
Not
If
really?
it's not, somebody over in the
want you to
control
talk
room, bring me
loud.
the
Ms.
portable
Milson, you're
mic.
giving me a hard time this morning.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, honorable commissioners, it's a pleasure to see you all today. I will attempt to be brief. You are going to hear from attorneys on both sides who are going to go through very relevant history on the development of this parcel. And so allow me first to offer you just some brief context to understand staff's recommendation to the Planning Commission, which they accepted with the staff recommended conditions. This is for property at 604 Wilmington Island Road. 604 Wilmington Island Road. You can see the subject parcel outlined in yellow in front of you.
Yeah, now, let's see, can we get your voice up?
Hello?
It's on?
Hello?
All right,
Yeah.
there we go.
Wow.
That's better. That's much better.
All right. So what you see on your screen is the subject property here, and you've got our policy document, the future land use map, and the zoning map over on the right-hand side. So again, to offer you some essential context here in understanding staff's recommendation, that red that you see kind of over to the left on the future land use map is commercial marina use. There's some conservation use in there as well. But as you look on the other side of the subject properties, you see some light yellow, and that indicates a low-density, single-family residential use. And so it's staff's contention that some sort of a buffering use, a transitional use is most appropriate for this property to sort of give a little bit of reduction in intensity as you go from single-family residential uses over to the coming Wilmington Island Marina. I'd like to note also the TB zoning district that you see for the properties that will become the Wilmington Island Marina. That is a tourist business zoning district. This is a relatively high-intensity zoning district that permits uses like hotels, gas stations, restaurants. The Wilmington Island Marina will contain a marina and a restaurant. And to give you a proxy for intensity, it's just over 200 parking spaces, if that's context. So it's a relatively intense use. And again, staff does agree and contend that this is likely an appropriate place for a transitional use. Just to offer you the definition of this zoning district from your zoning ordinance, the purpose of the district shall be to provide and encourage the proper grouping of roadside service areas that will accommodate the needs of the traveling public in a manner that prevents traffic congestion, traffic hazards, and blight on the streets, roads, and highways within Chatham County, and to create and protect commercial water recreation areas. So again, this is a relatively high-intensity district that the subject parcel adjoins. You can see here the Wilmington Island Marina in this photo is not yet under development, but you do see the docks there for those to pull up, and also the subject property, which is in between the single-family residences that is requested to be rezoned today. The property contains a duplex as well as a pavilion that the police camp would like to use for hosting its recreational activities. Again, just for your reference, this is the site plan for the coming Wilmington Island Marina. And again, this is just some context to help you understand how it is that staff views this particular request. In looking at the history, you can see back in 2019, this is the approved site plan. The property was developed consistent with this site plan. You can see the duplex that's located there, as well as the pavilion. It was permitted at the time, though again, there's a contested legal history for this property. But just so that you know, this was the site plan that was approved to permit what you see today. And so the petitioner is requesting to formalize this as a planned unit development, and that requires that you set forth particular uses as well as offer a site plan that development will be consistent with. That site plan will not change. The request itself, again, is to rezone from a planned residential, multifamily residential use, having a density not to exceed 4.25 dwelling units per acre, requested to be rezoned to PUD EO, retaining the environmental overlay. As again, you can see that this is a marshfront context. And the purpose is to allow the continuation of the existing residential duplex and a club lodge use for the Police Recreation Association, while implementing stricter use regulations intended to minimize disturbances to the surrounding areas during events. Within this PUD, the enumerated uses that would be permitted would be one-family dwellings, two-family dwellings, clubs or lodge uses, principal and temporary incidental signs, again related specifically to events that would then come down after the fact, and then any necessary accessory buildings. to define a club or a lodge for you so that we understand the scope of activity that would happen in association with this particular use. This is a private, incorporated, or unincorporated association for civic, social, cultural, religious, literary, political, recreational, or like activities. Important to point out, this does not include shooting ranges. So even though it's a police association, we're not going to see that type of activity. That would be outside of the scope of this use as permitted within the ordinance. It is operated for the benefit specifically of their members, not open to the general public. That's the essence of a private lodge. There are 7 use restrictions to be associated with this PUD. Those are printed on the screen for you. I'm confident Mr. McCorkle will go through them one by one for you. But there are 7 restrictions that are intended to tightly regulate the nature of activity that would occur on this property in association with the club use. Finally, this looks a lot like that 2019 site plan. This would be the PD master plan. Again, the structures that you see here on this plan have already been constructed on the property as they were duly permitted at the time. There are no proposed modifications or additional structures. So what you see here on this plan is what's already there. Any changes would require the review of the Planning Commission and or Chatham County Commission. That's at your discretion to require it to come back to this level, or you can allow the Metropolitan Planning Commission to have the ability to review any additional changes that would result in more structures to be built on this property. But nonetheless, this is the PD master plan as required by the ordinance. And so finally, the Planning Commission did favorably view staff's recommendation of approval, and there were 2 conditions that were attached to that. The first, as you recall from that first map, the future land use map did not necessarily reflect, it was that light yellow color. It didn't reflect the activity that is requested to occur here. And consistency between our zoning map and our future land use map is something that we would like to encourage. The Georgia Planning Act mandates it, and communities that exercise zoning and receive certain federal funding are expected to maintain consistency. Your plan shows that you are planning, right? You're not just haphazardly undertaking or making decisions about land use. You are proactive and thoughtful about your decisions. And so that's the essence of this requirement here, that the future land use map be amended. Staff does recommend that this board would consider a planned development designation to make sure that the flume is consistent with the requested rezoning. That is something that it would likely be prudent for this board to consider today. I will say it is standard practice for Chatham County in particular to wait until the future land use map is updated during the comprehensive planning process. That is something that, while I've only been here 2.5 years in my research, I do find that this board typically prefers the Metropolitan Planning Commission to update the future land use map at that time. Under the circumstances, it would likely be prudent for you to make that decision today to amend the future land use map if it is indeed your view that this requested use is appropriate for this particular parcel. Again, Mr. McCorkle will probably speak a bit more in depth about that in our negotiations. I'm sorry. The second staff recommended condition is to update the GDP to satisfy the requirements. There were very small things that were missing from the petitioner. They have agreed that they are willing to go back and make any necessary adjustments so that the site plan is fully compliant. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any commissioner have a question? Commissioner Whiteley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Morrow. So one thing you said was that there were requirements that weren't satisfied initially. Was that from the 2020 or 2017?
This was from this GDP that is proposed as the master plan for the plan development. There were small things missing, like the location of waste receptacles and things of that nature. There were very small requirements. The vast majority of all that is required for this to be approved has been provided.
Gotcha. Now, earlier in your comments, you mentioned that there was contested legal history on this plot. Can you elaborate?
There was a land swap that took place. Of course, this predates me. And so I know that there was a request to rezone this property. Actually, the present zoning came about in 2006. It was for a multifamily development that never materialized. Subsequently, the boatyard next door requested to come in, and they wanted to expand onto this property. This commission declined to allow that to take place, and so it retained its existing zoning. And so when a subsequent purchaser came in, I believe this was the swapped property the county deemed that it was appropriate. This use was appropriate to take place on that property, again, in the interest of it being a transition between more intense uses and single-family residences. Again, this went to court, and there were some questions about making sure that everything had been done appropriately. I'll allow the petitioners to get into the details as they are bar card carrying attorneys, but there's some questions as to just making sure that this is situated so that from a land use perspective, the activity is duly and fully permitted to occur on the property. That's all.
Got it. And so in the event that we make a decision, I'm assuming that would play into that legal discussion?
No, so actually this is a rectification action that's requested today. Based on the outcome of the most recent judicial proceedings, this board has been requested, as a petitioner should have. They brought a rezoning request. In the course of review, staff noted that the future land use map simply did not line up with that. And so just to make sure that we can bring some finality to what has been a protracted engagement, we'd just like to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed, and ensure that in addition to the rezoning, this board also considers a future land use map amendment.
All right, and then, so I see, if I'm looking with the waterway to the top of my page, and I see the site in question, so you're saying the sites, say 2 parcels to the left? There we go. So, okay. There we go. That was my question. So R1 AEO, what is that? I know residential.
That is a single-family residential zoning district. The EO is kind of a suffix indicating that this is within the environmental overlay. That doesn't necessarily have implications. This is a place where we expect single-family residences to be built.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, you just stated that the
Pull your mic, pull your mic.
I'm sorry. The single-family residence, I think you said should have been placed there, but there was a duplex permitted to be built there. Is that correct?
No, the subject property was rezoned in 2006. So the present zoning has been in place for quite a while.
And the present zoning is?
It is PR, which is planned residential 3 to 4.25.
Okay, 3, 4, thank you.
That's a multifamily zoning designation.
All right, do I have all commissioners? All right. Can we go now to the petitioner? Just, no, leave the mic so he can speak in the mic. I don't think I'm gonna need it. Oh, okay, all right, but I wanna make sure. Yeah, I wanna make sure we get it clear.
How do I get out of, I may need some IT help. I don't know how to get out of that.
You've got some presentations you wanna make?
I just got a couple pictures on there. They're loaded on the computer. I just don't know how to get out of. There we go. Okay, thank you, sorry. Bear with me just a second. Okay, I'm assuming everybody can see that. I'm gonna move this if y'all don't mind. Okay, I'll be sure to speak up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm here today representing the Police Recreation Association of Savannah, Inc., which is a nonprofit association tasked with the caring of the police camp located at 604 Wilmington Road. Would my board members please rise that are here today, just to let everybody know that you're here? These are all lieutenants and higher in the Savannah Police Department who are members of the board that we're representing today. The police camp consists of a single-story duplex with I want to make sure y'all can see the picture. It is a single-story duplex and a single-story amenity pavilion on the water along Turner's Creek. This provides a unique opportunity to 2 officers to be allowed to live on the site. The choosing of the 2 officers is based on both merit and need to allow to give a leg up to some officers that may be suffering with various issues that would allow them to live here free of rent and only for utilities would be helpful to them. Lieutenant Wiggins is here today, who lives on the site currently. The site has a very specific, lovely purpose. For the purpose of promoting, fostering, and maintaining the physical and mental well-being of all members of the Savannah Police Department, it is intended that the said property shall be used for the purpose of providing opportunities and facilities for the recreation, relaxation, and pleasure of the members of the Savannah Police Department and their families. It's a nice thing. There's a simple question before you today, and it's a single question, which is, can the police camp remain on this end of Wilmington Island where it has been for 81 years. In order to make that decision, you have a set of zoning criteria that you're bound by. MPC staff has reviewed that zoning criteria and they've recommended approval of this. The Metropolitan Planning Commission also reviewed those criteria and heard all the presentations of both sides and have unanimously recommended that you approve this rezoning today. The neighbors will paint a picture that this is a long-standing residential neighborhood and this zoning will insert incompatible uses into it. I'm going to tell you about the history about the property of this site and that there are no new impacts onto the neighbors because they've existed out here for 81 years. What I'm not going to do today is go into some long history of the 6 years of litigation that the neighbor has been waging against the police camp and against the police association. It's been a long road. There have been appeals and everything over a long period of time. This zoning will render all of that moot. It's irrelevant. If this property gets rezoned, all of the litigation will be ultimately irrelevant. But it is why we're here today. If we had not been sued by our neighbor, we were approved for Chatham County to build this, and we built it, and we've been operating on the site for now 5 years. And so that's why we are here today, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time detailing it, except for one detail. I do want to point out the fact that the lawsuit was filed in 2020. It's interesting because in 2020, the police camp was already under construction, but it wasn't completed. The neighbor didn't wait to see whether this was going to be compatible or not compatible. They didn't wait to see whether or not there were going to be wild parties out there that caused some kind of problem. They filed a lawsuit against the police camp before the camp was even open. And so it just sets the tone of this, that all of this has been hypothetical from the beginning as far as what dangers lurk out there for this property being there. But let's talk about the timeline. This end of the island has a long history of heavy commercial and club uses. In 1926, Henry Walltower built the General Oglethorpe Hotel there, which later became the Savannah Inn and Country Club, and the Sheridan is now the Wilmington Island Plantation. It's the tallest building in Chatham County, I believe, at least certainly in unincorporated Chatham County, as an architectural and historical site. From 1927 to 1940, the Savannah Yacht Club was located down here on this end of the island on these properties. In 1944, Savannah Police Chief, who happened to own a lot down there, gave the lot to the trustees of the police in order to have the police camp in that location in 1944. In 1945, Henry Walltower, who developed all of Wilmington Island, left the other half of the original police camp to the police association in his will for free because he wanted the police camp to remain there forever. This all predates any zoning in Chatham County. The police camp has remained in that location or on this island within 70 feet of where it is now for 81 years. Also in that location, just so you know, and I'm sorry that it's hard for me to turn this. So immediately to the west of us is the Sail Harbor Marina, which has been a full-service boat repair yard in place since 1982. It also has a history of litigation with the neighbors who didn't want it there either. 1880s and 90s, you had the Lightship Tavern Restaurant and Bar down on that end of the island. I had the pleasure of growing up on Wilmington Island. If y'all know the history of the mob being down there at the Sheridan, there were multiple bars down there on that corner. And when I was a kid, we weren't allowed to go down there at night because it was, let's just call it shady. A lot of people did a lot of partying down there on that end of the island. So it was not a residential neighborhood, let's say. There's also the Wilmington Island Golf Club, which is directly across the street from all of these sites, which is a golf club and association and club and lodge. You can see it here directly across the street. And so on all sides around this, there are clubs and lodges and association uses and commercial uses of these properties. In 1963, zoning was adopted in Chatham County, and this entire end of the island was made tourist business, as was mentioned by Edward. Tourist business is one of the heaviest commercial uses in all of Chatham County. Mr. Ferraro's lot, our next door neighbor's lot, has always been the dividing line between the residential and the commercial. It was single-family residential and tourist business with no buffer whatsoever. That zoning allows a marina, a restaurant with alcohol sales, gas stations, liquor stores, truck stops, automobile repairs, nightclubs, and self-storage facilities. And that zoning existed on this specific lot from 1963 until 2006, when it was rezoned for a specific multifamily project that never got built because the recession hit in 2008. That current zoning was planned and allowed for 6 36-foot tall buildings on this site. The driveway that currently exists on the site, which you can see in the overhead, was a driveway that was going to have 3 buildings on each side of it and an amenity down on the water. Could have been similar to our amenity, could have been a pool, whatever it was, to serve the families and the residents, which let's just say 24 permanent residents might have lived on that site. If this zoning is ultimately denied, the police camp will have to move from this site, and that's what will ultimately be constructed there, I suppose, is 6 residential buildings with families living in them. The pavilion will stay exactly where it is, and you'll have, I guess, their families and their people can use it for parties or whatever else they want to do too. They'll be down there every day. All those properties can be constructed within 7 feet of the property line of Mr. Ferrara next door. You can see in the overhead picture there's significant bushes and other things that line our property. It's a beautiful site. If you've ever gone out there and seen it, it's extremely quiet and a beautiful place to be. In 2016 and 17, we started making progress on the Wilmington Island Marina project. The old police camp at the time was in terrible condition, terrible disrepair. And it also was having problems with this potable water well because of environmental condition that existed on the site that was intruding into the well. So ultimately, unless the police could come up with enough money to completely rebuild their facility and do reclamation to the satisfaction of the Georgia EPD, ultimately the use of that site was probably going to have to end. And so the developer of the marina and the police camp worked together to come up with a solution to them, which was to move them 70 feet to the east and put them in the other location, and then put the existing police camp into the Georgia Brownfield program and completely remediate the site and fix the environmental problem at the developer's expense, and the developer constructed the new police camp for them. It was a win-win for everybody. This wasn't a scheme to try to trick somebody into what we were doing. It was a mutual agreement to the benefit of all parties involved so that they ultimately could stay there for the purpose that Mr. Waltire wanted them to stay there for and be able to afford to be there. And it removed a hazardous site off of the list and corrected it that was protective of all the residents in Chatham County out there on that site. And so what ultimately happened during that process also is that they established a new association so they would be better organized. They created a better board to be better organized. They created online reservations. You can't even set foot on that property, even if you are an officer of the police department, without registering and getting permission to go out there. And so all of this has been a positive. All of it has been to the good of all parties involved. Back in 2017, there's been a lot of talk about I misrepresented things to the county or we misled the county about what we were doing. It's not true. There's only 2 people probably in this room that were there, and it's me and Marcus Watson. And so we were extremely upfront about what we're doing. I always am on our projects. The first thing we do is go meet with MPC staff and go meet with the county staff about this is what we want to do. This is the problem we're having. We're going to move them over here. What do we need to do? Should we rezone? Do we need to talk me through how you want the application to work? It's what I do with Edward every time we have a project. And ultimately, the zoning administrator for the county decided, you know, this is really a duplex. 350 days out of the year, this is just a single-family duplex. It's significantly less impactful than the 6 buildings that are allowed to be there now. And if you had 6 buildings there now with an amenity, they could use that amenity to host things too. And so this isn't really a club or lodge. And you may say, well, the judge said it is. Well, she did. Years later, she did. But at the time, looking at it, the county staff was like, well, this is unlike any club or lodge I've ever seen. It doesn't have meetings. It doesn't have a bar. It doesn't have a restaurant or a golf course or a shooting range or any of these other things. It doesn't have regular Christmas parties. It has no meetings. It's not like the Elks Lodge where they're going out there and meeting on Thursday nights and hanging out at the bar. And so ultimately, we were issued a ZCL, and I can probably turn this over so you can see it. But ultimately, we were issued a zoning confirmation letter that said that we were allowed to have a duplex and association amenities on the site in 2017. And so that's what we went forward with. And then from there, our site plan was approved for the Savannah Police Camp. You can see the development name. We weren't pretending what we were building there. It was the Savannah Police Camp. And those plans were ultimately approved. Permits were issued by the county. The developer spent millions of dollars building this, moving them, and remediating the site to the satisfaction of the Georgia EPD. None of that would have ever happened without reliance on what we were told by the county. But after the construction had already begun, but wasn't quite completed, our neighbor filed suit against us in April of 2020, again, without waiting to see whether this was actually going to be a problem. From that, we had numerous meetings with the neighbor. We tried to have a mediation to resolve the issue. We offered restrictions like times of day, numbers of guests. We offered to build a wall. We offered to landscape the site with his approval at our expense. We offered to have him in direct contact with everyone who lives there all the time. Ultimately, nothing, we were not able to satisfy him with anything we offered. He did offer generously to buy the property from us so that he could have it, which I'm sure he would like, but the police weren't interested in doing that, and so the litigation continued. And ultimately, a few years later, the judge determined that this was in fact a club or lodge use, that the zoning administrator was wrong, the county was wrong, and that this is a club or lodge use. So in February, and then there were appeals, and then in February of 2025, our neighbor filed a permanent injunction to stop all police camp use on the site, all of it. Not one party, not one luncheon, not one baby shower, all of it. And so that's why we're here. We're here asking you to rezone the property so that you can use your legislative power to change the zoning in a way that would allow a club or a lodge, which a judge has determined this is. And through our meetings with the county and with MPC staff, we came to the conclusion that the best way to do this was to do it through a PUD. And as was mentioned by Edward, the beauty of the PUD is that this map and the words that are on the side of it actually become the zoning. It is the zoning. So there are no other bad uses allowed. There's a one-family dwelling or a two-family dwelling and a club or a lodge, but not any club or lodge. They can't sell this to the yacht club or to the Elks Lodge. It can only be used by the police department. And then they can have a sign if they want to have one. They don't even have a sign now. And then an accessory building, which accounts for the pavilion. No other uses without having a public hearing coming back here to you at the commission. Additionally, they can't construct any more buildings. They can't add a pool. They can't do anything on the site without coming to ask you for permission other than what's currently constructed. As was mentioned, we've provided voluntarily a group of use restrictions that will be permanent and part of the zoning and enforceable by the county. I want to point out one important one on there, two important ones on there. One is that we can't use it for anybody other than the police. The second one is that we cannot rent this out to the public at all. I can't call up there and use this to have a wedding. And so I think it's important to note that. We've put time restrictions on there, and when this was originally constructed, by the way, if you look back at the pictures, the setback was 7 feet. We beat the pavilion 14 feet, twice the setback. The building has a screen porch and an enclosed section. We put the enclosed section on the side of the house so that there wouldn't be open air right next to Mr. Ferrari's house. The duplex is on the opposite side of the property, all the way up at the very front of the road, as far away from his house as it could possibly be. And so all of this was done to try to reduce impact, and that will be permanently reduced by adoption of this PUD. The purpose of the PUD, just to mention this, is to provide an environment of stable and desirable character in harmony with the established and proposed land use patterns in the surrounding areas. And that's what staff's getting at when they talk about this being a buffer. It is consistent, and it makes a great transitional buffer. The Wilmington Marina is going to have a seafood restaurant, a bar, a ship store, a brand new marina with gas sales, 200 parking spaces, and phase 2 is 100 to 200 residential units. That's what's going to be immediately on the property line of the current plant. There are no restrictions on their time of operation. That bar can run until 2 in the morning. They can host all the events out there they want to with no restrictions. This property, which is already not zoned single-family residential, creates a buffer between the single-family and that property. And what we have there now is significantly less impactful in my mind and in staff's mind and in the MPC's mind than 6 residential buildings that could be constructed on the site now. And so lastly, to include this, I just want to talk about the criteria that are actually before you and what we're here for today. One of your criteria is about the future land use map. It was mentioned by staff. There's no process in Chatham County, interestingly, for applying for a future land use map amendment. They don't have one, so I can't apply for it. So what's typically happened is when we rezone property, the county would just instruct the MPC to change the particular site at the next revision to the map. Or y'all could decide today to instruct them to do that, but that resolves that issue, but I have no way of resolving it short of y'all taking action. If you look at conditions 3 or 4, whether the use will generate traffic volumes that adversely impact the surrounding neighborhood. I would propose to you that whatever impact is there from traffic from the police camp has been present for 80 years. The reality is the vast majority of the time there is no traffic to this site at all. whatever it is, it's significantly less than the Savannah Marina project next door that has a couple hundred parking spaces, the Wilmington Plantation site that has a couple hundred parking spaces, and the golf club across the street that has a couple hundred spaces. Condition 1, does the use create increased density of development, traffic, noise, or odor that impacts liability of the surrounding, or livability of the surrounding neighborhood? Neighbors claim that the rezoning was going to open up the floodgates. They use the term, this is going to be likely, constant operation of this site is likely. We're not claiming that in the history of 81 years there haven't been events out there that have been loud. I have neighbors that have had loud parties before too. Over a long period of time, you can certainly pick individual things that have happened. But the good news about this, and what's really interesting is we actually have a 5-year history of operating right where we are. And so unlike most new projects, this one, we have a history of operation. So we know exactly what's going to happen. This is the schedule from 2025. You can see it. When you see on there that don't have my numbers 1 through 18, because that's how many total events were there in 2025, those are just an individual person that went out to the site on the other day. So the actual events is 18. You'll see the list is baby showers, family lunches, graduation dinners. Most of them are in the daytime. So for 347 days of 2025, absolutely nothing happened on this site whatsoever. And for 18 days, you had some lunches and some baby showers and some other events. For 2026, in case you're interested, there are about 3 or 4 events that have been requested so far by the end of February for the entire year of 2026. You can't even go on the site, as I mentioned, without registering with the association. And I would also propose to you that whatever impacts for noise and other things are greatly overcome by the boatyard that is immediately next door to this doing repairs, and then now the new Savannah Marina and bar and restaurant and all the activities that will be going on there. And then also last criteria is criteria 2, which will the use render properties nearby less desirable or marketable? The neighbor has claimed that this is going to lower their property values, that this is going to kill the residential life for the folks that have the privilege of living out there on the water on Turner's Creek. I would propose to you that all evidence is to the contrary of this fact. Again, we have a history. And the history is that in 2021, when the police camp opened, the property immediately next door was valued by Chatham County's own appraiser at $1.51 million. Police camp's open, it's functioning, immediately next door, $1.51 million. In 2025, 4 years later, it was appraised at $2.45 million. So in the span of the 4 years of operation of the police camp immediately next door to the neighbor, his property increased in value by $944,000. That's a pretty big number. I don't know whether we would expect it to be bigger than that. Most people don't have a house for $944,000, much less one that's increased in value that much in a period of 4 years. And so the reality is that it's not decreasing the values out there. All these houses on the water, some of the most desirable houses in Savannah, the most expensive houses in Chatham County are located next to Idaho Marina and the Savannah Yacht Club and this site. And so with that, I would just say that opposing counsel is probably going to tell you today, and he sent you a letter that says, we're playing our final card and that we are asking you to save us from a judge's ruling. And I will state to you that that's true. That is exactly what we're up here doing today. This is the way things work. A judge makes a ruling that you may or may not agree with, and then it's up to the legislative body to decide whether that's what they want to be the law. And so we're here today asking you to save the police camp down here and decide that they don't have to move. We're asking the commission to provide long-term clarity for the use of this site with enforceable protections to protect the neighboring properties. It will be part of the ordinance enforceable by this commission. City manager sent you a letter last night, which I hope you got, in support of the rezoning. And I'm just going to quote him saying, approving this request is the right thing to do for the men and women who serve our community every day and every night. Their service is invaluable, and this camp has been a small but incredibly important gesture of the community's goodwill toward those who protect us. I'm proud to live in a community that would have something like this for officers that would otherwise have no ability to afford to live in the location that these neighbors live. And I think it's a great thing. And we hope that y'all will allow us to stay there as we have for 80 years. We support staff's recommendation for approval and MPC's unanimous recommendation for approval. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have of me.
All right.
I see Commissioner White just had any other? Let me go Commissioner Lockett, Whiteley, Lockett. Anybody else? Hodge? All right, anybody else? Okay, Commissioner Whiteley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McCorkle, thank you for the thorough narrative from your client's perspective. A question I have, how many members does the association currently have?
The actual, how many lieutenants and over are there, Chief Gavin?
There's
26 current members of the association. Now, I will acknowledge the police camp is available to those that are members of the police force, which is some probably 500, but actual members of the association, there are 26.
Gotcha. And then, so just so I'm clear, and I think you said this in your closing remarks, so the injunction that was approved by the judge stops any baby shower or any social events from taking place on the property currently?
The injunction has not been issued by the judge. The injunction has been applied for by the neighbor. We are still awaiting. There's been a hearing. There has been no ruling. I suspect the judge is probably waiting to see what happens today. But there has been no ruling, so there's no current permanent injunction. But if that injunction is issued and the property is not rezoned, the ruling for the judge is that a club or lodge use is not allowed as it's currently zoned, okay? And so if it's not rezoned and the injunction is issued, then they can no longer have any activities on the site whatsoever other than perhaps the duplex.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Traffic flow, have you all done a traffic study?
We have not done a traffic study. Again, I don't believe, and I'm not sure whether a traffic study was required by the surrounding developments either. The site plan was reviewed by traffic and engineering. Again, 350 days a year, I think there are 2 cars that reside on this piece of property, and that's what it's used for. And so, and also, this is on a spit of a road that comes off of the end of Wilmington Allen Road. We have been located forever 70 feet over. So I think our position would be that whatever events happen there occasionally, that traffic has been there for 80 years. And so we're not adding any new traffic that isn't already present. I think that's primarily why there wasn't a traffic study.
Thank you. That's what I would have done.
Commissioner Hodge?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I have a question regarding the residence that's immediately located next door. Do they have a clubhouse within their community, or?
So there's a couple of things that are, let me come back to it. So there is no, as far as the single-family residents that are down to the side, to the east of us,
Okay.
there is no neighborhood association. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
So if you go to the right of the site, these houses are all unincorporated Chatham County. There's no neighborhood association. There's no community building type thing, right? Although I will acknowledge that the Wilmington Island Neighborhood Association has a dock and facility around the other side of the island on the river that people can go and use and rent out for things like that, but not in this specific location. What you do have, and if y'all can see my cursor, what you do have over here is Wilmington Island Plantation, which is a condominium which has a pool. At one time, it was a club. We used to swim there all the time when I was a kid. And so you've got a club and association that is here, and then all of this property directly across the street is I think it's called the Wilmington Island Golf Club
Yeah,
now.
I'm familiar.
And so they've redone their site and they have events there.
Okay. Questions about the proximity of the new location to the nearest resident. Do you know the distance between where?
They can probably answer that. I think from the pavilion building probably over to the side, it's probably something like 50 feet to the very edge of the property. I'm not sure of the exact measurement.
Okay.
The setback for our lot is 7 feet. Again, I think the buildings are 14 feet. They're double what the setback is required, but the actual distance is probably maybe 50 feet. But
Okay.
anything that was built there, whether it was even if it was a single-family residence, there's nothing to prevent that building from being in that location or even closer to the house next door.
Okay, and just a couple of more questions.
Okay.
As far as the restrictions, were those restrictions that you all self-imposed based off of feedback, or did you collaborate with the residents to come up with those restrictions?
We tried to collaborate with a neighbor over a period of time and through a series of mediations, but were unable to come up with an agreed-upon list. And so the things that are on that list are self-imposed by us. Some of them were things that were discussed between the parties. Some of them may not be.
Okay, okay. Now, theoretically speaking, so there is someone who occupies a duplex on that property. So
Yes, ma'am.
in that area, based on what I know about ordinances, there's no ordinance that would mandate how many people you were to have at, say, a party that you throw as an individual. So is that applicable here, or is there something that would minimize the number of party guests that I could have at my residence?
There is no law that prevents that.
Okay.
There's a lot of discussion in the commentary about the fact that they could have 535 members out there. They could have a party with 1,000 people out there. Well, the neighbor could have a party with 1,000 people in their yard too.
Mhm.
The reality is that's just not what happens. Most of the events out there, events of the 18 in 2025, most of them are somewhere between 5 and 15 people. And I think as a general rule, the association tries not to have events out there that are more than 50 people. But there's not a specific law or rule that applies to that. And,
Okay.
And frankly, as far as I know, at this site for the last 5 years, it hasn't been an issue.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right, Commissioner Noah?
To your knowledge, have there been any police reports made against or complaints against this property?
To my knowledge, no.
That's it? All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now
And
we
I-
have the,
And I'd appreciate a chance to rebut
Okay.
public comment if I can. Thank you. I'm going to close out so he can use this.
now we're going to the board, or did you say they have a, they have an attorney? There's a, okay.
This is Mr. Northrop, attorney here in town.
Yes, good afternoon, members of the, I guess, good morning, members of the
Yes, sir.
commission.
Good morning.
My name is John Northup. I'm an attorney, and I'm here today representing Vincent Ferraro. Mr. Ferraro lives at 530 Wilmington Island Road, which is immediately adjacent to the subject property. I don't want a lot of time to speak here today, so I'm going to try to be as brief as I can, but I do have a number of things to say that I think are important for the commission to make an informed decision this morning. First of all, with regard to the MPC staff report, with all due respect, there are some statements in the staff report that just aren't correct. The staff report says that this proposed rezoning is intended to basically confirm an existing use that's going on legally. Not true. And I'll show you why in just a second, because we're going to go into the litigation. Mr. McCorkle didn't want to go into the litigation because it doesn't suit his clients, because they lost. It's very important that the commission understands the current legal posture so that it can understand what exactly this rezoning would do legally. By way of background, Mr. McCorkle said that the police camp has been there for 81 years. That's a little bit of a stretch. It has been at the property that is 2 doors down for 80 years, which is the property that's next to the last property at the end of Wilmington Island Road. It has not been at the subject property for 80 years, and there's a big difference there. As Mr. McCorkle did correctly point out, the PRA has operated its police camp on that 3-acre parcel, which you can see in the area map that I circulated, which is at 612 Wilmington Island Road. It's the next to last property on the west side of all of the properties that border on Turner's Creek. For most of those 81 years, no one in the residential neighborhood to the east ever really complained about the police camp. They thought it was great that the PRA had an area to do this. As Mr. McCorkle pointed out, it was left in somebody's will and it operated there for a long time. But it was at the end, and it was on a big piece of property that was 3 acres large and was zoned correctly. So for 80 years, nobody had a problem with it. But that all changed in 2018 when a developer, also at that point represented by Mr. McCorkle, hatched a plan to buy up the 3 parcels that surround the old police camp property. And as part of that deal, a swap was proposed. So the developer said to the PRA, you give me the 3-acre parcel that the old police camp was on, and in return, I'll give you the property that is 2 parcels to the east that is directly adjacent to the start of the residential neighborhood. And as part of that deal, the developer sweetened the deal by saying, okay, not only will I swap you this property, which is smaller, but I'll build you a bunch of new stuff on it. I'll build you a duplex apartment at the front. You can see that as well. It's right up on Wilmington Island Road. I'll build you a new dock, and I'll build you a party pavilion that's back in the back. And so that's what happened. The problem is the zoning doesn't work. The properties on the east side, as Mr. Morrow pointed out correctly, are all zoned tourist business and have been for a long time. The property that is the subject property that's right next to Mr. Ferraro's residence is not. Since 2006, it has been zoned multifamily residential, PR3, that would allow a multifamily development of some sort. But importantly, that zoning does not permit a club or lodge use. It doesn't, plain and simple. So when the swap happened, the PRA, whether it knew about it or not, got a property that wasn't zoned correctly for the club or lodge use that they had intended. Now, I will concede that in 2018, the county zoning administrator did approve a site plan that allowed the duplex apartments and the party pavilion to be built. But importantly, the reason that the county administrator approved that site plan was because the developer mischaracterized the way that the PRA intended to use that property. The developer insisted that the party pavilion would be used as an accessory to the duplex residence. And you can see that, there's email conversations back and forth on that. The MPC at the time, MPC staff even called him out and said, you know, what you're proposing here for this party pavilion looks a lot more like a club or lodge use than it does as an accessory. And I should explain, an accessory to the residential use basically means that the party pavilion would be used as an accessory to the two officers who are living in the duplex apartments. So it would be used for those officers as well as their guests. That's very different than operating a police camp that is open to all 500+ members of the PRA. So despite the fact that the MPC staff said, this looks like a club or lodge, counsel for the developer said, no, this isn't a club or lodge. They submitted the site plan. If you look carefully at the site plan, the words club or lodge do not appear anywhere on it. What it does say is it says this is going to be an accessory to the duplexes, and that is what was approved. That's very different than what actually happened. So the swap closed, and as soon as the deal closed and the party pavilion was built and the duplexes were built, the PRA started using the property the way that everybody had intended, the way that the PRA and the developer intended. They moved the police camp from the old property to two properties over, and they started operating it in the same way. So again, what does that mean? Well, that means according to the rules of the PRA itself, which came out in the litigation, that means it's open to be used for any of the 500+ members of the PRA. That's a lot of people. They can have up to 24 large parties a year, and that's large parties is greater than 25 people. There's no limit on the number of parties fewer than 25 people, so unlimited numbers of those parties. Each party would allow on-site parking on this property of up to 25 cars. A lot of cars. And lots of loud music at many of those parties, right next to my client's bedroom. I mean, if you can imagine what that was like, thankfully I've got a video that I'd like to show you, one such party that was from 2022. I'll see if I can get it to load here.
Abby, let me get you some help so we can.
I've got it here.
Okay, yeah, but we need to expand it.
I do need the volume, yes. I just don't see it. Is it here? This was taken from Mr. Ferraro's front driveway. You can see here, there's the party pavilion, if you can see my cursor. A lot of loud music. I think you get the point. But I think that also shows you that despite the fact that my client may have filed a lawsuit before anything was completed, I would propose to you that that kind of abusive use of the property is anything but hypothetical, as Mr. McCorkle said it would be. That's not hypothetical. That's a party going 50 feet from my client's bedroom. Now, interestingly, as soon as Mr. Ferraro saw that this was a use that was not an accessory to the duplexes, he cried foul, as he should have. He said, this is not what was represented in the site plan that was approved. So what did he do? He called the PRA out. He filed suit. This is where the litigation comes in. He basically said that this is a club or lodge use, and that's not permitted under the current zoning. So in December of 2022, Judge Louisa Abbott, Chatham County Superior Court, I'm sure you all know her, she entered an order, and she agreed with Mr. Ferraro. You've got a copy of the order in the packet that I gave you. But basically, the order said two things. It said that, one, because the PRA opens up the party pavilion to its members, the PRA's use of the party pavilion does constitute a club or lodge use under the Chatham County zoning ordinance. And accordingly, since a club or lodge use is not available or is not permitted under the current PR3 zoning, any use of the party pavilion to run the police camp on this property is a violation of the zoning ordinance. Done. The PRA even appealed that. They took it up to the Georgia Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals denied them. So that order has stood since December of 2022. So you would think that after the court order, the PRA would have stopped operating the police camp because there was a court order that demanded it, but they didn't, and they still haven't. They've kept operating the police camp there for over 3 years since that order was entered. That is critical because that's in direct defiance of not only the zoning ordinance, but also of a lawful court order. As a result, Mr. Ferraro has had to file another lawsuit to try to enforce that court order. That's the one that's currently pending. He filed it about a year ago, but as everybody knows, lawsuits don't always move that quickly through the courts, so there hasn't been a ruling yet. And I agree with Mr. McCorkle. I think the judge is probably waiting to see what you guys do. Mr. McCorkle did tout the fact that there were only 18 events held at the party pavilion during 2025. First of all, every single one of those events was held in violation of the court's order. Again, club or lodge is not permitted under the current zoning. Secondly, however the PRA may have used the property during 2025 is no indication of how it could be used if this commission decides to approve the rezoning. And lastly, keep in mind that during all of 2025, they were litigating with Mr. Ferraro on the permanent injunction litigation. So to my mind, they probably toned it down a little bit, knowing that they were doing so in violation of the court order. The point is, if the property is rezoned, the floodgates could potentially open. Even if they only have 18, the problem is if you rezone it, they can do whatever they want to do. They can have as many parties as they want to have. They won't have a court order hanging over their head because the court order basically would go away. Now, the PRA is now claiming that it's going to protect its neighbors against any abuse by agreeing to certain use restrictions on its use of the party pavilion, and you saw those in the proposed site plan. The problem is, those restrictions just aren't very restrictive. The main one in there says that you can't have events after 10 p.m. during the week and can't have it after midnight on weekends. I propose to you that that's not really terribly restrictive. That would allow a party every night of the week until midnight on weekends. Who wants that immediately next door to their residence? Here's the bigger problem. Who's going to enforce the restrictions if the PRA breaks them? The neighbors would be put in the position of having to call the police on the police. Good luck with that. That might be one of the reasons that there haven't been a whole lot of police reports filed, to your question. Because who's going to call the police on the police? You don't want to alienate the police. Everybody likes the police, but that's the only enforcement mechanism. Mr. McCorkle's proposed solution that he just explained to you is that the use restrictions will become part of the zoning, which I agree with. But his proposed solution is that you guys can enforce them. So under that theory, if the PRA breaks these use restriction rules, Vince Ferraro or any other area resident who believes that they were broken would have to come back before this commission to ask you to bring the PRA back in line by changing the zoning. Besides being extremely burdensome, even if the commission did change the zoning to bring the PRA further in line, do we think the PRA is actually going to abide by any new zoning change? I mean, they've already been thumbing their nose at the zoning ordinance and a court order for over 3 years. Not even the court order has caused them to comply with the zoning ordinance. So what makes anyone think that they're going to abide by the use restrictions that they've self-imposed? The point is, the PRA has been well aware for 3 years of what the court order said, and they haven't cared. They've continued to operate the police camp at the property in violation of the zoning ordinance. Unfortunately, the neighbors just can't trust the PRA to abide by any of these use restrictions. Now, the simple fact is, the only way that the PRA can continue to operate the police camp on this property is to have it rezoned. So that's why we're here. There are several reasons why this property should not be rezoned. First, it doesn't meet the rezoning criteria that this commission has to consider under the zoning ordinance for any proposed rezoning. Those standards are set forth in the MPC staff report in your packet, and I won't go into them now for brevity's sake, but you know what they are. They deal with whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the livability, the quality of life, traffic, property values, et cetera, of the nearby residents. And those are important. So a quick review of the facts here. The party pavilion brings up to 25 cars onto the property for each party. So it will significantly increase traffic counts on a dangerous curve with no stoplight. The entrance to this property, by the way, is right, Mr. McCorkle misstated that. It's not off of the spur road, it's off of Wilmington Island Road proper. The old police camp, the entrance was off of the spur road. This is the last property where the entrance is just on Wilmington Island Road, so I submit to you that the traffic counts would change. As the video you just saw showed, the noise levels from the numerous potential parties would certainly adversely impact the livability and the quality of life in the surrounding residential neighborhood. For Vince Ferraro especially, having the police camp in operation next door to his house within 50 feet of his bedroom window would certainly decrease the value and the marketability of his house. Now, I heard Mr. McCorkle's argument about, well, all the properties have gone up. I'm not sure I buy it. I mean, yeah, sure, the properties have gone up. It's waterfront. I don't dispute that. I'm sure that all the waterfront properties have gone up in the past 5 years. The measure should be, is the property value diminished based on what it should or what it could be valued at? And I would submit to you that any residential property that has a party barn within 50 feet of it is probably not going to be valued as highly as it would if that party barn weren't there. So I think that the value issue is valid. Lastly, the proposed rezoning, as Mr. McCorkle pointed out, and Mr. Morrow pointed out, is inconsistent with the future land use map. And you guys have to consider that. That's an important thing. It designates the property as residential, suburban, single family. So you'd also have to amend not only the zoning, but the future land use map in order to meet that criteria, which is one of the criteria that you have to consider when you consider a proposed rezoning. Lastly, there are just better alternatives to this particular property for this use. I mean, to be sure, and you're going to hear from some of the neighborhood residents, none of the neighborhood residents object to the concept of the PRA having this type of event space. It's actually a great thing. I think I agree with a lot of the things that Mr. McCorkle said about the fact that it's great that the PRA have this facility. It's just not the right place for it because of what they want to do. Mr. Ferraro, as Mr. McCorkle mentioned, has offered to assist the PRA to identify an alternate site for the police camp. Certainly there are got to be other locations in Chatham County that this would work for. Put it on a big piece of property. It was on a 3-acre piece of property for 80 years. Nobody cared. It's now on a smaller piece of property right next door to the residential neighborhood. That's a big difference. I would say let's let them find some place that's a bigger piece of property where they're not going to be on top of their residential neighbors, and then they can have as many parties as they want. Again, it's not an opposition to the idea. It's an opposition to the location. As far as the buffer argument goes, very true that, yes, Sail Harbor is, the former Sail Harbor property is being developed next door. None of the residents here that you'll hear from have any problem with the new development. It's 2 doors down. It's kind of the same argument that they didn't, the same reason they didn't have a problem with the old police camp and its old property. It's removed. It's a bigger piece of property. But taking this piece of property, this is the current buffer right now. And I'd submit to you that a lot of these residents would rather have even a multifamily development that could be built there. They'd rather have that as a buffer than, a party barn that's having parties until 10 at night or midnight every night. So in conclusion, I'd ask you to keep in mind the following facts. First is the police camp operated for 80 years in its old location without any issues. That all changed when a developer made an ill-advised deal with the PRA, who's now hired the same lawyer that represented the developer to get it out of the bad deal. The PR3 zoning has been in place since 2006. Mr. Ferraro relied on that when he bought his property and built his house. He did not anticipate having the police camp right on top of his bedroom. This is not a win-win for everyone, as Mr. McCorkle said. It's a win-win for the developer and the PRA, but it comes at the expense of the residential neighbors who have been there before this property swap was entered into. The only way they have out of this bad deal, other than flouting the regulations as they have for 3 years, is to rezone the property. And again, that would come at the expense of the residents of this neighborhood. I'd urge you to please deny this rezoning, and let's hold the PRA to the original use that they submitted the site plan for, which is as an accessory to the duplexes. If the party pavilion is used occasionally by the 2 officers that live in the duplex or their guests, that's one thing. I don't think anybody would have any heartburn over that. But opening it up to the 500-plus members of the PRA is a totally different story, and it's not appropriate for this location. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions? Questions? All right. Commissioner Noah?
And this may not be for you, it may be for,
No,
building
ask,
member.
hold. Ask him a question about what he presented.
Okay,
Don't-
are
If
you
it don't
familiar-
belong to him, don't do it. Okay? All right.
I'll ask him.
Okay.
Are you aware, under the current multifamily zoning, we have heard that there could be 6 homes? That's what we heard today, and I thought you
He just said that.
stated it.
He said it. Yeah.
Right. What is allowed under the current zoning? Under the, what is it?
The
3R?
PR3, it's PR3
3-4.
dash 4.25.
Correct.
The 4.25 talks about the density.
Density.
Yeah.
So what is the maximum density that is currently allowed? Is my question.
Yeah.
It would be 4.25 dwelling units per acre, I believe, is the way it's measured.
And this is how many Highland acres?
1.75, I think is right.
It seems like somebody would have that information, 4.25. Thank you.
So yes, you could have, you know, again, I'm not disputing what could be built on the property. It's just,
Yeah,
All good.
that's what he's trying to get. He's trying to get to, we were told by both you and Mr. McCorkle that there could be 6 units built on that property.
yes.
And it would be within the orders. That's what he's trying to get to.
Right.
All right, that's why I wanted to make sure he
Sure.
stuck to the facts of what.
Okay, well,
You got it.
when I multiply 4.25 times 1.79, that's over 7.5 units. So I just want facts. That's all I want.
Yeah.
If you'll
And
give
it
me,
doesn't seem that
I
get
can
them
look
here
it up in
today.
the zoning ordinance and give
No,
you those numbers. if you need.
we got it. All right. Anybody else? All right, thank you, sir.
I got a question.
All right, good. Commissioner Farrell has a question.
What year, we heard in 2006 this was zoned multifamily,
Correct.
which that's indisputable. What year did Mr. Ferraro purchase the property that we're talking about now as being the next door?
2016.
2016. And was there a house on there or was it undeveloped or
No, it was undeveloped at that time.
undeveloped?
Owner demolished it and then decided not to build.
Okay. So in 2016, he purchased it with the idea that there could be anywhere from 4 to 8 multi-units next door and proceeded with his investment. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, that's all? That's all? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
So proximity between the resident that you're representing and the actual structure that we're talking about, do you know the distance between
50 feet, I
About
think.
50
50
feet.
feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
50 feet.
Now, you showed us that footage. Do you have, and I'm just wanting to understand, do you have any footage of the experience inside of the residence when this type of event is taking place?
I don't have any currently. I will let the homeowner speak to that. He's going to come up and speak, I think,
Okay.
at some point.
Also, do you have the date that correlates with, we were provided by the previous attorney with like a list of the events that take place here. Do you have the date of the event that this video footage from the resident?
I
comes
don't.
from?
I was told it was in July of 2022.
Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you. All right, now, listen, let me set some ground rules here now. We allow, I know, thank you. We allow the attorneys, all right, leverage on time, all right? That's not gonna happen to the residents now, all right? Each resident who, you got 8, you said?
We got 6 more on the list.
6 more on the list? Okay, those 2 on, the 8 was part of those 2. All right, so that's out. All right. So now start with number 1, and number 1 has 3 minutes, all right, to say whatever they want to say. And then we put it in the hands of the commission.
All right. Dennis
Right.
Chandler.
Chandler? You pass? All right, move on.
Robert Gavin.
Chief, come on. You're on the list.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Council, Commissioners, Shark and Mr. Kegler, thank you for letting me speak today. This has been something that I live in this district, and I live on the island. And it's been one of the locations that we've tried to take an active role in making shores available to the men and women of the Savannah Police Department. The reality of it is it doesn't get used very often, probably less than 10% of the year. The key part of it was having locations. We have 2 female officers that live in the duplex currently. Those female officers, it gives them the ability to one, have a location that gives them time to, get on their feet, understand, the area and have a chance to save up for future housing, things like that. So we've always used that as one of the parameters to allow officers in there. There's several people on the command staff that at one time or the other, stayed at this location. When this swap happened, it was done to, allow for us to have a smaller property, because one of the reasons why we wanted that swap was the other property wasn't being used that often either. And we felt that a smaller property would allow for, the fact that it wasn't being used very often, and there was a lot of space in there, and a lot of upkeep for what they were doing. But the big part of this is we want to be respectful, responsible neighbors, and we've done that for a very long time. And when we found out that there was this pushback to this, myself and the current board, which has always been the command staff that is in place at whatever time. So 50 years ago, it was that command staff. Today, it will be this command staff, and tomorrow will be, whoever comes after us. But we look at this as it's a place of most of the time refuge and quiet. Many of these events are kids' birthday parties. There's, I think 11 of them were birthday parties. Daytime, 4 to 5 hours, younger children. It gives them the ability to have a safe place to enjoy something during the daytime with a beautiful view and where it's at. Coincidentally, I've been there when the neighbor was having a birthday party in his yard with just as many people, and they were both having birthday parties on the same day. Those kind of things are things that we, hope that officers will use it for. There have been prayer meetings, there have been a book club, and we're talking 4 to 5, 8 to 9 people. The one incident he did show, we were notified of that. The reason you're not going to see a whole bunch of the videos like that is because we told everybody there's no more having loudspeakers and amplified sound. If you want to have a speaker, you can have one of those little small speakers, and you can sit in a screened-in porch or by the fire pit, and you can listen to music at a level where you can hear it. So we've self-restricted all of that, and we've self-restricted that at the other location also. Is somebody gonna maybe turn something up too loud? Sure, I'm sure that may happen, but I live less than 4 minutes away, and I know there's other officers out there, and the reason we have those officers that live there is so that they can be the first ones to be notified, or if they hear anything, their responsibility and part of what their job to do out there is to go and stop something like that. So knowing that that there's always sound and music coming from the marina. The marina is actually in front. The boat, the waterfront actually, marina is in front of our property. So we're surrounded by that on one whole side. There's RVs. There's all kinds of things in that parking lot that generate sound. And again, it's we're only 50 feet away from each other, pretty much all of those properties, the marina, us, and the neighbors. We went into this open-hearted. We wanted to make sure they understood that we're here to work with them, and the police camp and the police department are going to ensure moving forward that those rules that we've imposed are going to remain, because we have the authority to say, no, everything's over, everybody go home. We have the authority to say, no, you can't have an event like that. And we've turned down events that we thought might get too big. But those are the things that we have the ability to do as a board and will continue to do, and which we've done for many, many years. But again, the importance of this place is to the officers and the retirees that that have gone there to just sit and watch water, to fish off the dock, and that's mainly what you're going to get out of this place. And I heard it being called a party barn. It's really, it's not a party barn unless you're calling birthday parties and things like that parties. But the reality of it, it's there as a gathering place to where officers can go and grill a steak. We've had events that are on that thing that are exactly that. So in closing, I want to thank you all for taking the time to do this, and just knowing that how important that is to the police department and to the command staff, and to all those who have served, to allow them the ability to continue to do those things that you're doing, and know that we're going to take responsibility for that and police ourselves in this instant.
All right,
So again,
question.
thank you.
Hold on.
sorry.
Question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Gavin, what's your title?
Yes, I'm sorry, Assistant Chief Gavin.
Assistant Chief. Well, thank you for your comments. How long have you been on the board, the leadership board?
Oh, I've been a lieutenant since 2010. So you automatically go on the board as you become a lieutenant on the police department.
All right. So were you aware of the order that was put in place in December of 2022?
So yes, we were told that the zoning was being challenged and that the zoning had to come back. We were not told that we had to stop having, an event, or the people living there having an event. So they were continuing on, but by that point, we knew that there was, we again agreed to a lot of concessions to make sure that we were trying not to cause any kind of disruption to the neighborhood.
Yes, sir. So were you all provided a copy of the order?
We were not. We were just told that that there was an order that came down and that it was being appealed. So we knew there was legal action still going on.
Got you. Well, just so you know, and I'm just reading the last sentence of the order. It says that club or lodge under the definition of the zoning ordinance. Such use is a violation of the current zoning designation for the property. I'm sorry your attorney didn't tell you that, but I just want you to know what was given to us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Commissioner.
Can I just, a little bit off of that same comment, Commissioner, would our zoning department not send a letter, or someone within the Chatham County government not send a letter to the current occupant that states there is this order, whatever? I mean, they're saying they did not know they have to, so I'm just wondering where the breakdown is. There's a breakdown somewhere.
Let the attorney answer you.
We don't get involved in personal disputes between one side or the other. And so there wouldn't be any reason for us to send that. We would figure either the law, it's going to be appealed and reversed, or it's going to be appealed and affirmed. And then whatever action needs to be taken needs to be worked out between the parties.
So you're stating that the county staff, meaning Building and Regulatory Services, zoning, or knew nothing about them operating improperly, illegally, whatever the word you want to use, prior to this case?
I don't know. We got a lot of staff. Somebody might have known, but I don't know. And that's sort of it.
And to me, it seems like, and this is just my opinion now, and everybody got their own up here. To me, it seems like if there was a violation, they should have taken it back to the judge and said they're violating the court order, and say you're not adhering to the court order, and then let the judge do their sanction things from there. I don't think it would have involved any of our staff or any of those. I don't think we would have sent court enforcement and anybody else out there. We wouldn't have sent the police or nobody else out there because that was something being handled by the court.
That's why I stated prior
Right.
to the judge's order and prior to the case, did staff know that they were operating improperly? And if so, why they did or
No,
not?
no, staff did not do that because quite frankly, I don't know whether it's a lodge or it isn't a lodge. We got a judge that thinks it's a lodge, okay? But like was said earlier, they don't have meetings, they don't have a bar, they don't have a lot of things that you see in a typical Elks Club type bar. So.
Did you get all? Yeah. All right, let me go to Commissioner Milton.
Question is, and this may be for an attorney, but the building was built as an accessory. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. You gotta have a primary use in order to have an accessory use. If they had gone out there and built the building and said, oh, it's a lodge and all that, they wouldn't be an accessory use. But if you put a duplex on the building, and make the function of that an accessory to the duplex, yeah, you can do that. Now, you gotta still meet some of the requirements of what it takes to be what kind of accessory you're putting there. But if you could meet all those requirements, you would be okay.
So that's my question. The requirements of an accessory building, were they out of compliance with that?
No, ma'am. The thing passed code, went through all the usual things that you have with a building.
That's why our staff didn't get involved. Commissioner Farrell.
Thank you. So I'll recap. I'm looking at the front page of the Superior Court of Chatham County's lawsuit, Vincent Ferraro versus the Police Recreation Association. The finding was on, it's long, but I'll just read the last paragraph. To the extent the defendant is permitting or facilitating its non-resident members' use of 604 Wilmington Island Road for activities that are not associated with the residential use of the duplex, including but not limited to social, professional, and training events, and which would render the amenities as a club or lodge, under the definition of the zoning ordinance, such use is a violation of the current zoning designation for the property so ordered this 19th day of December 2022. So whoever was representing the police association and Vincent Ferraro would have that information in black and white, just like I have today. But I heard that the use was continued uninterrupted, and then there was an appeal. During that appeal process, the way I read it, there should have been no more of this activities. And the appeal apparently went to the plaintiff also. So that's where we are right now. There, except for the folks that live on the property, my understanding of this legal judgment from the Superior Court judge is that it's just for the residents that live in those duplexes. So what we're asked today is to open it up with a rezoning to 500 plus other folks to have access to the amenities there. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, most of it was accurate. When you appeal, that acts as a supersedious to the upper court, makes a ruling on it. Now, you can file another proceeding to go into court to say, in order to appeal, you need to post a bond. But if that isn't done, most of the time, in a civil case, they will allow the appeal to work its way out or stay the order until there is a final decision on it.
So
I don't know what happened procedurally there.
Mr. Chairman, just point of information. I believe it was stated that the appeal, that there was an appeal and that it failed.
It was,
Anybody?
the original lower court decision, my understanding, was affirmed.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
Well, is this the appeal I'm looking at right here, or is this the original?
I'm
from
not sure,
December
because there's been
19th,
several
2022?
lawsuits, and I really don't keep up with, I got enough to keep up with.
Oh, I do
besides other
too.
people's
I do
lawsuits.
too.
See, that's-
Trust me.
Thank you.
You was good, yeah. All right. We all right now?
Well,
We all right now?
If
For
it's
who?
okay.
Yeah, you can ask our attorney. Yeah.
So again, I want to understand ordinances, theoretically speaking, and based on the judgment, if whoever occupies the duplex sponsors an event or throws an event, there's no limitation on the number of people that they could invite to this event, correct? Theoretically speaking.
Yeah, under the under the proposed rules, yes. You obviously got to do something with the traffic and all that, but I don't know that that's, whether that's happened or not, I doubt it, but.
Okay, thank you.
Got it right? All right now. Let's go to whoever. Who's next on the list?
Yes, sir, Mr. Vince Ferraro.
Thank you, Chair Ellison.
sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. I don't really know how we got all the way to where we are today, but it seemed that it's about Vincent Ferraro, my wife, against the police association, which is not the case at all. And this has a long history, and we've all heard about it. I just feel like if you change the zoning and we could backdate to where we don't have any facilities there, and they came for a PUD, and they said, here's my established house, and 50 feet away, we're gonna put this pavilion for a venue, and y'all would say, no, we gotta have proper buffers. We got to have buffers. I'm in construction. We always have to have PUDs require a lot of buffers. But if we weren't where we are today, then I think that, it would be a different outcome where y'all would put some limitations on what they could do or where they could build this thing, not where it currently is. He said, and this is just, to me, just the fact that they moved the police camp under the disguise that it was residential, and it never was. And I did my due diligence in 2016, and I knew they could build 5 or 6 residential apartments, whatever, in that area, but it would be residents, not this. So they didn't ask anybody, and they just moved it along like this. And just that video was at 11:44 p.m., that one that you saw. Now, the reason they don't have them anymore is because of the court orders. They've reeled it way back in. But I mean, it's just, it was never meant to be. I tried my very best to try to help the police association, and still will, to do something, because they deserve it. These guys deserve every bit of this and more. It's just not the right location, that's all. It's just wrong.
Right.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Question?
Yes.
For Mr. Navarro now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, what you're saying, the wrong location, it sounded like your property had assessed its value significantly. I would assume that this property has assessed significantly. If it were sold and purchased another more suitable property, that there's probably a pretty good sum of money there to do that.
I would think so, yeah.
I'm just, okay.
I would agree with that. But I could also tell you that if you change the zoning and they want to say that my property values have gone up, and I go to try to sell with my bedroom 40 feet from that pavilion, and somebody's going to walk up that could afford the property, would say, I don't think so. And that wasn't the case. It isn't the case now, but when you change the zoning, it will be the case that I will be negatively impacted by that.
Okay.
And it might have assessed more had it only
Correct.
had a different use next door.
Correct.
Right here and now today.
Absolutely, it could have.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hart?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Navarro, have you provided any, and you don't have to tell me what they are, but I just want to know, have you provided any proposed restrictions to the police association for the use of the?
We went back 5 years ago. We sat down in mediation because the judge wanted it, and we tried to come up with an agreement of limitations on how much they could use it, and to come to some sort of agreement, but we couldn't. But, you know, if you say that you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever days till midnight, I mean, and you got 500 and something people that can use it, and they should have a place to use it. They got a birthday party, they got whatever, they should have a place to use it. And you know, midnight, that's just not an answer, because, I mean, it's people going to have fun. And then I want to be the one that has to go over there and say, you know, y'all got to shut this down because it's 9:30 and I don't feel, I don't want to hear it anymore. I mean, I don't want to be put in that position to have to police what's going on next door, but it's just the location's wrong. It's just wrong.
So you didn't, so you're saying you weren't able to come to a consensus on what
Yes,
the restrictions
between
should
us
be?
and them on the restriction.
So my question is, today, theoretically speaking, do you have a list of restrictions that you would like to see for?
I don't
that
have a
use?
list of it, but if it was, if there was some limitation on the number and the frequency, yes, I would entertain something.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
Yes.
Got everybody? Thank you, sir.
Thank
Next.
you, Chair.
Yes, John Walsh.
Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning.
Members of the board. I live at 408 Wilmington Island Road, which is about a quarter mile down the creek from where this development is. And I might have less of a dog in the fight than anybody, but I can tell you that I've been a resident there since 2015, and there have been parties down there, and they have been loud, and I can hear them from my dock, and there's really no disputing that. Mr. McCorkle will have you believe it's a place of quiet reflection for holding hands and quiet prayer, but it's really not. And the parties are parties, and they get, you know, they get loud, and I don't blame them. where the police camp was before was a natural buffer, not only between the neighbors, immediate neighbors, but the rest of the creek as well, because there was a tree line, there was the marina, and what they did in doing this land swap is they actually brought the venue right next door to a resident. And I think they did it under false pretenses by saying that that was a building for the residents that were on the property, knowing full well the whole time that was never going to be the intent of that property. My father-in-law actually built the original fish camp, the police camp, and he might be upset if he was around today to hear it had fallen in such disrepair, but as a community, we never had a problem with the location of the prior police camp and working with them. And parties and no parties, it never was a problem. The relocation is a problem. And that's basically all I had to say. But I also had one of our neighbors adjoining the property had a statement that he asked me to read before you guys.
No, sir.
Yep. Okay.
No, sir. You can give that to the clerk, all right? And she can make copies and give it to all of us.
Fair enough.
But his name is not on that sheet.
Okay,
all right?
fair enough.
All right, thank you.
Any questions
All
for
right,
me?
questions for me? All right, so thank you. Next.
Brian Hussey.
He left. All right, next.
Rose Ferraro.
Good morning. I'm Rosemary Ferraro.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your time this morning, and I'll be very brief. It's all been very covered. I'm speaking more on a personal note, as the details have been hashed over and over, and would like first to make it clear that we have the utmost respect for the Police Association and law enforcement in general. It is very disheartening to hear Ferraro versus the Police Association. This is certainly not about the Police Association or its members. It is about a venue. I can't agree more that the police deserve a property and venue for their enjoyment. As my husband said, we searched for this property and thoughtfully built our home, and within a short time, we had this venue placed within 50 feet of our bedroom window. I certainly don't know all the details of how this was allowed, but we never thought we would be dealing with an event venue that was placed in an area that was zoned for residential. We have tried to negotiate terms and feel we have been more than reasonable. I just want to reiterate that this is not about the Police Association and its members. To all of you here today and your colleagues, your hard work does not go unnoticed. We thank you for protecting our community. Thank you.
All right, question? Okay. Next?
That's it, Chairman.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right. No, sir. We ain't have closing arguments. Mm-mm.
He asked for a rebuttal, Mr. Chairman.
But that's based upon me granting it, right?
Yeah, you can
Oh, okay.
deny it.
I thought I was still within my jurisdiction. No, sir. All right. And listen now. Let me tell you why why I want to make the commissioners understand where I'm coming from. All right. While I'm saying no, that's between lawyers. That's a court case. And one of the things that's got me off balance is I'm wondering why the judge waiting on what we do before they make a decision. I don't think we should be put in that position. Honestly, Attorney Hart, I need to close?
You need to close the public hearing.
All right, give me a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second. Probably motion and second that we close the public hearing. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Cast your votes. All right, good, thank you.
Now you can decide.
Now, all right. I want both sides to understand where I am as your chairman, and I represent all of you, all right? You might live in the 4th district, but I represent the 4th district because you have to vote for me to be the chairman. And I'm twixt between a rock and a hard place. I don't understand why the courts tried to dump on us a decision that should have been made by them. See, we can't correct whoever decide to swap the properties. We weren't even a part of that, nor did we have any input in that. But now you want us to make a decision. See? And then when we look at, and let me take the we out. Let me tell you exactly where I am. It's hard for me when staff recommends something to go against them because they have done due diligence and searching through all of the things that we need to go through, all right? And I know that when we make decisions sometimes that you're always gonna have pros and cons. You want somebody who gonna think you did the right thing and somebody who think you did the wrong thing. But I don't know about any other commissioner up here, but for me, all right, I like to table this because there's some things that I think I can ask staff where we can get more clarity on what we're passing and what we're doing. Now, I went, and I'm like this with everybody in this county. I was requested to come out by neighbors, all right? And so we took the attorney and the manager and those, and we went out there and looked, okay? And we were looking. One of the first things that I had a problem with is I don't like that curve. I had to park on the Gulf side and cross over. And going back to my car, I had to get pulled back twice with the car coming in. But that's not here nor there. But now, is there anyone on the commission who feels like we need to just shut this down by voting it up and down now? Or is there anyone who feels like I do about we need more information? I need more information. Yes, sir.
So I want to just first state, I think everybody feels this like we don't want to run afoul of the police. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all service. I think this is a matter of property rights, and I think it is a matter of zoning. And I think that if we were to, I don't have a problem with tabling it to get some more discussion. I don't think that staff has made an official recommendation. The NPC did. I guess my concern is that if we were to approve this, I think it may set a bad precedent because, again, these folks did everything that you're supposed to do. You looked into what's next to the property you're going to buy, you see what it is, and so on and so forth, and then you buy it, and then it just changes overnight, or changes in this case due to an action by us. I don't think that's fair to property owners. And it just seems like there was the transfer of the property took place prior to the proper zoning considerations being taken place, and that shouldn't be a fault of the adjacent property owners. So again, I'd be open to tabling it to get our staff's input on it, but I also think that we definitely, whatever we do here could set a precedent that may come back to bite us later.
Right. And see, that's what I'm reading, what's in front of me. It says staff request to postpone until February 27th, but then we don't have a recommendation from staff. We don't have, I don't see it anywhere in front of me. That's why I said what I said. Let's go, who else?
Mr. Chairman, I too agree that we should wait for more information in order that I can make an informed decision.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm prepared to vote on it up or down if we want to, or postpone it. But I want to make this statement crystal clear that for me to support a rezoning, I would want the buy-in from the neighbors, that they agree that this is a good thing for their neighborhood, because everybody out there purchased their property with the understanding of what's allowable. They knew there was a marina there, they purchased anyway. They did what they did with the facts that they had. We want to change that thing dramatically, and it certainly is going to affect the very first property, because that is now going to be the new buffer. I heard today that there was a willingness to discuss parameters. And again, for me to vote to rezone it, I would need the assurance that there was buy-in from the adjacent and property owner and the neighbors around there, that they felt like that this was a good move for their area and in respect to their property values. That's how I look at it.
Yes, sir.
Just a final comment that I'm prepared to vote yea or nay today with the evidence that I've heard and everything that's been presented. But I've also heard that we need more information, and I want to be very clear to the petitioner and everyone involved. What information do we need? If we need more, my fellow commissioner said we need more information. Let's make it very clear what information we need so that we can be prepared at the next meeting or whatever we do so.
All right, we're gonna give that to staff and what? Excuse me. No, sir, don't do that. Don't do that. All right, listen now. Commissioner Hodge asked one of the presidents, all right, about things that they would like to put in restrictions, okay? So what I'm thinking is that we would charge the manager to get staff to cover that, so that when it comes back before us, we've got that information as well. Am I on the right? All right, so now.
Well, with that, and I don't disagree with you there.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure that it's crystal clear.
What we
that that if I were voting today, it would strictly be on property rights and what they, when they purchased the property, what it was being used for.
All right. Okay, wait a minute, I'm coming. Yes, ma'am.
What I heard is that there still is an opportunity for them to come together.
Okay,
And I think that if we table this, that might be able to happen.
all right. Now, Mr. Attorney, what you have to say?
Well, it seems to me like the problem is there's not an agreement on what the rules are.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
That's not a reflection on the petitioner or the respondent. That's just saying, well, we've got a plat here that's got 6 or 7 conditions on it. Maybe those need to be improved upon.
Okay.
So my thought there is direct both sides to get together and make a final and best offer after they mediate it between themselves. And if they need a mediator, they can hire a mediator to help them and assist them with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would at least give the board the opportunity to sort of look at what both sides comes up with, and maybe one finds one's being reasonable and one is not, or they're both being reasonable, or they come up with an agreement. But either way, at least you have the information and the items that seem to be the sticking points.
All right. So let me, having heard that, let me, and you, let's go to voting up and down, okay? Let me offer a motion that we table this. Second. All right, there's been properly motion and second that we table. Are you ready for the question?
I have a discussion, Mr. Chairman.
This question, go.
All right, so just to be clear, the fact that there's pending a pending injunction, there's been attempts at mediation prior to this. I don't think that we're doing anything but just prolonging something, especially considering that when we talk about rules that were set, there's an order by a judge that this wasn't supposed to operate. That this was operating out of zone, meaning it shouldn't be operating out as a club. And for years, it has continued to operate as a club. And so I think even with rules being set, I don't think that we'll see anything different. I think that the nuance of this and the sensitivity of the parties involved are what make it a little bit difficult for us to try to render a decision. But at the end of the day, the information still remains. There's zoning, and there are things that you can do in certain zones. If you are in a certain zone and you are not meeting the use that is listed via county code or any jurisdiction's code, then you're in violation, and that's clear cut. If we add nuance to this, then we would have to, again, add the same level of nuance to every zoning petition that comes before us, and I think it puts us in a really tough spot. I think that this was probably one of the most thorough public hearings that I've been a part of since I've been on this commission. I'm not sure what other information we could go after. And again, I know it is tough to be the one saying that, and this is not about the police association. I agree that this is about a location, and I think we have to remember that. That was the only thing I'd like to share, Mr. Chairman.
All right, got all unreadiness? Yes, ma'am.
To the point of, so I know how I would vote based on the information that I've been given, but I do think there's room for questioning, because my question would be, how many residents are there? How many residents are actually in opposition if we have additional questions? So I see nothing wrong with tabling.
All right, now I got all in readiness. Now here's what you're voting on. The motion on the floor is to table. That's what you're voting on, okay? You're not voting on this up or down before us, all right? Now, cast your votes yay if you think we ought to table it. Cast your vote no if you don't think we ought to table. Cast your votes. Cast your votes. Cast your votes. All right. All right, this table. All right. Mr. Manager, there's some directions that we're giving you.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
Staff asked us now, and I'm reading from what's in front of me. Staff requests to postpone this item until February 27th, right? And then staff didn't provide us with any information. See what I'm saying? All right. So now, both sides can take what Attorney Hart says. Y'all can try to mediate or come together and see. But now, I'm on the same page that Commissioner Hodge is on. All right. If there is some things that could be put in here that would make this better for us to understand, all right, because I just don't want to shut the door and say it's all over, all right? So that we go from there, all right? You got your marching order, sir? You understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you didn't have any information, all right?
Just some updates, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
In front of you, you should have some updates from Summer Bonanza,
Mm-hmm.
and also a reminder about the ACCG Capital Connections Conference that many of you are attending, and also a reminder of our engineering department receiving the award on that
Yeah, we're
Friday
supposed to go
night.
to Atlanta.
Yes, sir. So
All
I just
right.
wanted to make sure everybody has that information, and please get with Madam Clerk, and she can make sure your travel arrangements are finalized.
All right. With that, I announced in pre-meeting that there's a need for executive session. Can that? We don't need to do that. All right. Okay. So now let me have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All right. Cast your votes before you move. We're adjourning. Come on, like. Adjourn.